So if you find yourself feeling tired, finding it hard to motivate yourself sometimes to get out and ride, or you're not managing to finish a workout, or you're finding the workout too intense, maybe you're not recovered enough and you need to spend more time doing recovery. As you get older, you need to spend more and more time recovering, because unfortunately our bodies aren't quite as good at repairing themselves and getting ready for another workout as quickly as they are when you're young. So what can we do to recover well? Okay, so the first thing to think about is, have you gone too hard in the first place? Are you doing too much? When you do get older, your bodies can take less, and probably if you're doing around 8 to 10 hours a week, pushing to 12, as you're approaching 50 or something in that area, you might find you're doing a little bit too much, especially if you find yourself doing Zwift rides 3 or 4 times a week, Zwift races, then going out on a group ride at the weekend. Maybe you're not giving yourself enough time to fully recuperate. And I personally probably now have cut back a bit. I do a chain gang on a Saturday, which is a hard, fast ride. I've never worked that hard on my own. Then one big interval session in the week. Everything else is pretty aerobic, pretty zone 2, and a fairly steady pace. So that's number 1. So obviously the harder you work, the more rest you need. So if you're doing harder efforts, maybe some hard VO2 max efforts, or you're doing a chain gang or a Zwift race, you might find after that you need more rest to recuperate. So I monitor my resting heart rate, and if you do the same, you might notice that after a hard ride, the next day or two, your resting heart rate has actually gone up a few beats, meaning your body is still sorting itself out, is still recovering, recuperating, and making you stronger. So if your resting heart rate has gone up and you're feeling fatigued after a hard ride, take it easy for the next day or 2. Okay, next one, resting. Sounds easy, but are you actually resting? Are you taking it easy when you get back after a ride? Or are you going out, mowing the lawn, doing hard DIY, doing yard work? The more you work on a ride, the harder your rest needs to be. Sometimes it's a bit hard with family, small children, jobs to do, but try to take it easy, or try to plan in time when, if you have had a big ride, you can actually take it that bit easier after the ride. So next up is nutrition. Are you feeding your body? So after you've done a hard workout, after you've used up a lot of glycogen, or you've emptied your glycogen stores on a long ride, you are going to need to refuel. So when you come home after a ride, the last thing you want to be doing is just hoovering up anything in the fridge. You want to be making sure you're eating quality food, quality carbs, getting some protein in as well. The most important thing straight away though is try to replenish those carb stores. Make sure you're eating food that contains easy to break down carbohydrates, so they replenish those stores quickly. because sometimes you can be fatigued after a ride and it leads on to bad rides in the next day or two because you haven't fueled properly or refueled after the ride. Another great thing to do to help you recuperate after the ride and help you recover properly is stretching or yoga to help your muscles relax and help them to adapt to the strain you've put them under. So if you can, try to build yoga or stretching into your routine. Especially if you've done a long ride and your body's been in a fixed position for a long time, helping it stretch out and getting those muscles back to where they should be and loose is a good thing to do. One of the main things to do when recuperating is sleep. Your body rebuilds itself while you're sleeping. So make sure you are getting decent sleep. Really, ideally 8 hours, but I know from my own experience, as you get older, you sleep less, you wake more in the night, and it's hard. But try to do all you can to have a good night's rest, because it's in resting and sleeping that your body gets stronger, not in doing more and more training. If you're not already doing this, make sure you build in some rest days into your week. So you've had a hard weekend, maybe resting a couple of days in the week, like on Monday and Friday, would be a good idea to help your body recover. If you are doing rest days, are you doing rest weeks? Or are you just doing the same thing week after week after week, expecting your body to cope with it? Generally, maybe after 3 weeks, people have a rest week. As you get older, you might find you need to do that every couple of weeks. So that doesn't mean you don't do anything for a week. It means you're taking it more easy. So maybe you back up on the volume, maybe just do one intense ride or a couple of intervals within a ride, but you're generally reducing the amount of work you've done in that 3rd or 4th week, and then your body will be more prepared to take on more load in the following weeks. One last thing that will help you with your recovery is forming habits and routines. So if you can make some of those things we've talked about into habits, you'll find your recovery is much more successful. For example, if you coming off a ride and you just do one stretch every time you finish a ride, it'll be much easier to create that habit and gradually build on that. So instead of doing one stretch, you're doing 3 or 4 stretches after the ride. You'll find that becomes a habit. Habits and routines are what our bodies thrive on, especially as we get older. So try to build those routines into your riding. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. It'll help the channel grow. Hopefully you found the tips useful, and if you follow them, you should recover well.